Okay, good day everyone. So this is just a recap about the patterns of development that we did discuss. So when we say patterns of development, again, it is a way to organize, to logically organize the ideas presented in a composition. And usually, as a student, we tend to write a lot of composition and there will fall under academic writing. Because when we say academic writing, it may come in many form. It may comes in many form. The most common type that we are using is an essay, and it is a formal style of writing used in universities and scholarly publication. So when we say academic writing, it is the writings that are intended for academic school purposes or more likely on the scholarly or university purposes. Okay? So the next one is essay. When we say essay, this is the most commonly used academic writing. It is a short formal writing and it has a single subject only containing the personal point of view of the author. So in this case, when we say essay, essay is commonly used by the students and therefore it only has one topic and it contains the perception and perspective of the own author or the author writing the essay. And it is written based on a perspective patterns of developments. So unknowingly, as a student, you are only already using patterns of development in an essay. But now, let us know deeply the patterns of development. So when we say patterns of development, it is the logical arrangement of ideas. The pattern will help you follow the ideas easily and understand the text better. Having the ability to recognize it will help you distinguish major details from minor ones and predict ideas. Okay, so when we say patterns of development, this is how an idea is presented in a text. So the moment you identify what pattern of development was used in a composition, you will find it easy to understand because you already recognize the major detail on that particular composition. And in order for you to identify what patterns of development was used in that text, you need to identify first the main idea. So again, when we say patterns of development, it is the logical arrangement of ideas. So with the patterns of development, we have 10 patterns. We have narration, and the main purpose is to narrate. When we have description, the main purpose is to describe. Then we also have definition. The main purpose is to explain, however, through defining. Then we also have process analysis. So in process analysis, it analyzes the process. Okay, and the next one, the fifth one is division or classification. So in this case, you divide, you classify the categories or group them according to their classification. And then we also have on the sixth one, we have the exemplification. The main purpose is to explain, however, by providing examples. And we also have causation. So in causation, you look for the relationship of the cause and effect. And we also have comparison and contrast, which technically finds the similarities and differences of two objects. And we also have persuasion. The ninth one is persuasion, and the main purpose is to persuade. The last one is problem and solution. So in problem and solution, we usually identify the problem and provide solution. So those are the patterns of development that we will be studying for the whole week. Okay? So now let's start with narration. When we say narration, I will not read all, okay? You just listen to me. When I say narration, again, the main purpose is to narrate. When you are narrating, technically, you are telling a story already. You describe how and where an event occur or actually happen. So in this case, when we say narration, it is consists of chronological sequence from the beginning up until the end. So the example of narrations that you have encountered are the novels, the news, wherein it tells story. So again, when we say narration, it is storytelling and it is um the main purpose is to narrate. Okay, so every patterns of development has its own graphic organizer, appropriate graphic organizer. And as I have told you, in patterns of development, you will be able to understand them better. So in this case, the intended graphic organizer for a narration is a story plot organizer. I know you already know this, okay? So you have seen an open triangle. It's not closed because it denotes the story. So you start with exposition or the introduction, and then you have the rising action, and then you have the climax, and then you have the falling action and the resolution. So in this case, you just identify what are the parts of the story and then write them here as your information. And that's it. You already have your story plot organizer. So this one is intended for the novels, the stories, but we also have a timeline. So in a timeline, this one usually used up a lot of time. Mas mahaba yung time na ginagamit niya. So in this case, you can have the years, you can have the month in the years, the weeks in a month, the days in the week, or even on the hours in a day. So as long as it's very detailed, you just supply us the time and then what happened specifically on that time or date, then that is already a timeline. One thing that I can add up with narration, you can also use the story mapping, which is in your module, which we have discussed last week. So when we say story mapping, again, story mapping is you just have identified, it's a box wherein it's divided into four, and then you have a circle in the middle, and that is where the theme is located. So you can use that one. Okay? So for your activity, I wanted you to transform this composition into a graphic organizer. So a clue, this pattern uses narration, or this composition uses already the pattern of development, which is a narration. So it's up to you what graphic organizer will you be using. So kindly screenshot this, and then later on, I will just announce when is the deadline of this activity. Again, kindly screenshot this composition, and then you need to read and understand, and then you need to come up with your own graphic organizer. Okay? Screenshot in 3, 2, 1, and now let's proceed. This one is also another example of narration pattern of development. However, I will not ask you to transform it into a graphic organizer. But if you would like to practice, you can do so. Okay, just kindly take a screenshot. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's proceed with the next pattern of development. We have description. When we say description, the main purpose of description is to describe. When you are describing, you are citing qualities. You are describing a person, an object, or a scenario. You are citing the qualities that they are possessing. So in this case, when you will be describing, you should appeal to your five senses. When we say five senses, these are the sense of hearing, sense of sight, sense of smell, sense of taste, and the last one is sense of touch. So in this case, when we say description, your description or the words that you will be using should appeal to the five senses. How does it look like? It looks big, it looks small, it looks beautiful. So in this case, you are appealing to the sense of sight. How does it smell like? It smells fragrant. It smells like a perfume. It smells like a bubble gum. So in that case, you are appealing to the sense of smell. How does it what is the sounds like? I heard the cracking, it's like whooshing. I heard the bark of the dog. So in this case, you are appealing to the sense of hear. What does it taste like? It tastes sour, it tastes bitter, it tastes sweet, it tastes blunt, it tastes good. So in that case, you are appealing to the taste. And then you also have the sense of touch. And sense of touch usually appeal to the texture. It's so smooth, it's rough, it's slimy, it's sticky. So in that case, you are describing already. So when we say description, again, you need to describe and cite qualities by appealing to the five senses. And we also have two types of description. We have subjective and objective. But before we proceed to subjective and objective, let me just show you first the graphic organizer. The graphic organizer intended for description is the network mapping. Again, you call this one as network mapping. So in this case, you can just write here, for example, you will be describing a person. For example, let's say my friend Benedict. So you wanted to describe Benedict based on his physical appearance and based on his characteristics. So the physical appearance, how does Benedict look like? So he is tall and dark. And then why do you say he is tall? And then you just narrate them. And then with the characteristic, he is kind and loyal. So, how can you say that he is kind? Because he is generous, because he is honest. How can you say that he is loyal? O, dito pala, because he is honest and he is faithful. So, in that case, you already described the person. Okay? Okay, you can also use a spider map. This is called a spider map. So, in this case, you just write here who is the main idea or what you are describing. And then, for example, physical appearance. And then, on the lower of the physical appearance, this is called the major detail. On the lower part of the major detail, you need to identify what made you say that he is, what made you say about his, what can you say about his physical appearance, characteristics, habits, and then the like. So you can just use spider map. And again, we have two types of description. The first one is subjective. The next one is objective. So when we say subjective, it includes attention to both the subject being described and you as a writer or the person who is describing. So when we say objective, it is primarily factual. You as the one describing or the author, you are not allowed to give your own opinion to the object being described. Because the moment you give your own opinion, the moment you give your own perspective and perception, then therefore it will become subjective already. Again, when we give our own opinion and perception, the description will now become subjective. If it will just become objective, then you need to focus on what you have saw. Because again, when we say objective, you are just primarily factual and scientific on describing what you see is what you have seen is what you will be writing. No adapts of your own information. So, for example, if you will be describing a girl wearing a red dress with a red pair of heels and a red pair of earrings, that is objective. Because what you have seen is just what I have described is based on just what I have saw. But when we say subjective, I may say that I saw a beautiful girl wearing a glamorous dress with a pair of killer heels and a pair of enormous earrings. So in that case, I already add up beautiful, gorgeous, killer, enormous. Those words are opinionated words because what is beautiful to me might not be beautiful to you. So it is subjective to one perspective to another. So in that case, when we say subjective, again, you're not allowed to put your own opinion, or technically, you're not allowed to put adjectives to your text because that will make that subjective. Okay? So I have here an example of objective and subjective. So for the objective, you have the kitchen table is rectangular, 72 inches long and 30 inches wide, made of 2-inch pieced oak, and its top is covered with waxy oilcloth. So in this case, what I just described the kitchen table based on how it looks like and what is the size. I even use 72 inches and 2-inch piece of oak. So in that case, 72 inches to me is 72 inches to you because that is universal. So therefore, everything is objective. But looking on the other example about Caroline or Sister Carrie, everything was added up already. You have their strong, you have their youth, pretty, prettiness, possessed, what else? Intelligence. So those words will make your text already subjective, because what is strong to me might not be strong to you. So again, when we say subjective, you are not allowed to put your sorry, when we say subjective, this is describing something with your own opinion. You can put your own opinion, but when we say objective, it is primarily factual. What you see is what you will be describing only. You are not allowed to put your own opinion or description to that, okay? And we also have two types of, again, description. We have general description and specific description. So when I say my pet, that is general description, because you don't know what type of pet do I have. But if I say my cute little Aspen with his brown fur, then therefore that is specific, because you have identified my pet. It is an Aspen, so it's a dog with a brown fur. Another example of general description: the Heniel's cafeteria is a wonderful place. Ma'am, why is it become general when you have named the cafeteria? Because of the word wonderful. How wonderful is wonderful? Again, maybe what is wonderful to me might not be wonderful to you. So you need to explain why is that wonderful. So you need to have the specific description. The Heniel's cafeteria is a comfortable place to sit and talk with your friends. So in that case, what made it wonderful? It's a comfortable place to sit and talk with my friends. So in that case, I already give my specific reason why I find Heniel's cafeteria wonderful. And then another general description is school children do not like reading poems. Sorry for the reading poems. So in this case, whose school children? A lot of school children we have here in the world. Even you guys are school children. So to be specific, you may say Brian is in the 5th grade and he hates reading poems. So we have named the person and locate its position, that he is a 5th grade and his name is Brian. So in that case, that is only for description. That is a thank you already. So if you guys have any questions, just send it to our GC and then I will answer them thoroughly, okay? So with that being said, goodbye and thank you, and wait for the next pattern of development. Bye and God bless.